Pam, this is Dan McDonald.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry.
Well, don't cry. I've got the video rolling, just because I like to record these in case they're helpful for others. So let me know if that's okay.
That's totally okay.
Okay, cool, good. I was just looking at your long email, very well written, by the way. But let's just get started right away and see if we can. I've got to get out the door here pretty soon. I've got some appointments. But
Sure.
Your email really touched me, and I wanted to see if we could at least get you started on some ideas that you can do to start remedying some of this stuff, okay?
That would be great.
So, Pam, can I ask how old you are, please?
I'm 46.
Okay, and you've been experiencing some of this stuff for quite a while?
Yeah, probably, I think it was kind of maybe early 20s it sort of started, 22, and that's when I was diagnosed hypothyroid.
Okay.
And they put me on some medication and said that, you know, I would be on that the rest of my life. I think it was shortly after that that we moved to California, and that's when I sort of really started researching. To give my mother some credit, who's a wonderful lady, she started Fit for Life, if you're familiar with them.
I am. Yes.
When I was like 16, and I completely rebelled, and we lived in Michigan. It wasn't the thing, you know, it wasn't the norm at all. And they were still eating meat, but they were food combining and fruit in the morning and that sort of thing. But it was really something that I went back to, even though I really sort of rebelled, you know, when I was younger. So I started on the Fit for Life journey, and that really, I have to say that eating fruit in the morning was one of the biggest changes for me that really gave me some energy. But after, I've never been able to I'm sort of chasing that high, if you will. You know, it was in my 20s. It was for a couple of years, and I've been thinking for so long, maybe it was just when I was younger that I experienced that, because I've never been able to get back to that feeling.
Have you been a fruit in the morning person since then?
Oh, pretty much. I mean, here and there. There's, you know, I've been to alternative practitioners and bankrupted us doing so. But, you know, with Chinese medicine, it's always warming foods. And a lot of people have wanted to blame the raw food diet for all of my problems. And I've been, you know, so every once in a while I've wavered in those really dark places, you know, when I just can't get off the couch and I've got a baby, you know,
right.
Or I'm homeschooling I think she was 10 at the time. The really bad crash happened after Sienna, my second.
Yeah.
But pretty much it's been a general sort of malaise and tired with a brief few moments of, oh my gosh, this is what it would feel like to be normal. And I don't know why those come. It's almost like my body wants to, wants to, and it has the possibility is there, but it just won't stay, or it kicks in for like a day, and then I'm back to really struggling.
Okay, so have you ever? By the way, I'd like to tell you and everyone else watching that actually having children takes quite a bit out of you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And so you really have to be on point to rejuvenate yourself after you grow a little baby in your stomach for 9 months. So that's one big thing, especially usually the adrenals, they get kind of tired. But I want to ask you something, Pam. Have you ever really lived up to your own ideal of this?
No.
Okay. So that would be one thing. That's where you would want to start. Instead of allowing others outside of you to have any influence over your own intuitive inner call. If we don't follow our own intuitive inner call, we're basically shooting ourselves in the foot. God talks to each and every one of us individually like, hey Pam, this is what you need to be doing, and then you need to, when we follow our highest ideal, that's when we can begin to experience the flow of energy. But if we allow our society or our family or the conditions surrounding us to affect us and our integrity in accordance with how we know that, or what we are intuitively guided to through different thought processes and whatnot as what's best for us. So that's the first thing I'm going to say to you, is that I would encourage you to start following your inner calling and trying to live up to your ideals. And because even when we are setting the intention and putting out the effort to live up to our ideals, we are, and even though we fall short, because I know I have very high ideals and I fall short basically daily, but it's when I give up and I'm not I even feel energized, even if I fall short of those ideals, but I know that I'm going to continue on at working at those ideals. I still have a certain level of energy and excitement towards life, because everybody wants their potential to arise. Everybody wants to see life from a higher perspective, and energy is at the root of that. So Pam, let's get into some of the practical stuff here. You know that fruit for the breakfast is great. I think fruit is also really good for lunch and snacks. Fruit is the best source of energy for a human being. It's the most easily digestible, high water, the atoms are spinning at a high rate, it doesn't clog up the body. It's very flushing and nourishing and satiating, because the beautiful thing about fruit is that you don't have to put any sauces on it, you don't have to have any weird combinations to make it palatable. You just eat a banana, you just eat grapes, and that alone allows the blood to stay clean and the mind to stay clear, and the water and the electricity and the sugars and the antioxidants. So fruit, I think, is one of the best foods that people can begin to consume to enhance their energy. Okay, I know there's a lot more going on with you because of your story and stuff, but I want to encourage you to start thinking in that direction alone, because it may be, I want to ask you then, leading off of that, do you eat enough?
That's what I'm kind of wondering. I'm trying to figure that out, because I've made a lot of changes this past year, and, we've never had a second car, so I've always been the one to walk everywhere, and now I have a cargo long-tail bike that Sienna rides on the back, and I have my bags, and I carry all my stuff in. So I can't say that I do, like, a ton of exercise, but, like aerobic, really, like where I'm sweating, but I'm walking, or I'm riding my bike and carrying my groceries, or, that sort of thing. But so I've always been a little bit confused, because it doesn't feel like I'm putting out a lot, but I do feel hungry. And what's interesting to me is, like, I'll make my green juice, and, 2 pretty big glasses, and it feels like within an hour, I don't know, I've read those books years ago, and I think it was Shelton that talked about experiencing hunger in a real way, So what I kind of feel is deplete, is what I would say to you. I don't know that my stomach, I don't necessarily have salivation going on, or that feeling in my throat that happens from true hunger, but I feel deplete, and I feel like I'm searching for energy through my food, so that I'm hungry, and then I'll have, a couple of pieces of fruit, but I do crave, like, fat. Like, right now I'm craving olives, like crazy.
Okay. There's a couple reasons for that. Now, Shelton was pretty smart guy. There's a few things I don't agree with him on, but he had a lot of good to teach us all. That being said, there is a time for true hunger, to wait for that during periods of fasting, or at the levels of, like, mastery of this thing. That's one thing. But for most of us, we just need to have a nice appetite. It can be helpful in certain cases to actually eat before you're very hungry, and to continue to nourish yourself with those easily digestible foods, because if you're not getting enough energy from your food or calories, then you're going to be hungry and you're not going to have energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you are craving fat, now it could be the stimulation from the vinegars and the salts, but it could also be, people tend to crave fat when they're not getting enough carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are number 1, fatty acids are number 2, and then amino acids are number 3. In our society, we've got it flipped upside down. So we need to focus on getting enough carbohydrates in one way or another. I'm not adamantly opposed to even cook carbohydrates as long as they're clean. I think that the best source is the living raw food, the fruits of the trees. Okay, so let me ask you a question, Pam. When you make your juice, how many ounces is it?
I think it's, let me think, probably 6 cups.
All together?
Yeah, I have a champion juicer that I feel like I can't afford right now to get something else, and so it's pretty foamy, and I'm fantasizing about the day I can get, a little, right now, it's been with me for a long time. I've had it for a really long time, but so it's kind of a long process making the juice, and I don't always have, the amount of produce that I want to have. But, so I think it's probably, when I think I put it in a pitcher, I think it's probably like 6 cups.
Okay, which is approximately, I think...
What is 8 ounces is a cup, and
right.
I probably drink 4 cups at it, and then I'll feel like satiated or full. I definitely really have been craving, I'm making this drink that I really crave, which is oranges and bok choy and celery and cucumber, and I could drink that all day long. But I've been trying to change it up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
I really do love the watery, fruits and veggies.
Okay, well that's going to be good for hydration and alkalinity, but that's definitely not going to provide you with the calories,
Right,
because
right.
it's just a few oranges. So really, you may just have a calorie deficit going on here, and you're not getting enough. What's your weight?
I'm 5'1", and I'm probably 123. But I was, when I had Sienna, my thyroid went all whack. They couldn't get it under control, and it wasn't working, and all of this. And then, because it was 30 hours of labor, and it was really pretty intense. So I feel like it took a long time to crawl out of that. But probably about a year ago, I started really okay, enough already. I'm not listening to anybody else. I'm going to do what I really believe is the right thing to do. And so I've lost about 40 pounds in a year. Now, I'm normally 100, I can be 115, 110 easy because I'm so small.
Okay. So you're not really super skinny, and you actually have weight issues because of the thyroid.
Right.
Are you familiar with my friend Robert Morse?
No.
The God's Herbs. You may want to check out the Nature's Botanical Pharmacy.
Okay.
And that'll be. I think I might put this video up. I'm not sure, but if I do, you'll be able to reference it. But
okay.
They have a thyroid formula over there that may help you. I've had several of my friends that were having issues with their thyroid, and just after 6 or 8 weeks on the thyroid formula, they had a lot better thyroid function.
Well, and the one little good, definitely I think good thing is that ever since I've been doing the raw with a few little slips here and there, I started to feel, I definitely deal with anxiety, and I started to feel a bunch of anxiety, but yet tired at the same time, sort of wired tired. And I'm so in tune with my thyroid now, so I went to have my levels checked, and it showed that I was on a little too much. And so I was wondering if, things are starting to heal, because I'm definitely on thyroid medication. And it's a tricky medication. I've tried to get off of it in the past.
Yeah.
But I think since I've been on it since my 20s, you know, your body's just like, you know, you've suppressed your thyroid, you know, by doing that. We're the only country that like has people on thyroid for their life. Usually everybody goes through a little thyroid skip in their life, and you might need a little help for 3 months or something, but you're taken off of it. And you know, I've been on it forever. So I wanted to ask really quick about the parasites.
Okay.
And, you know, so I really trust that the fruit is just fine because it's so cleansing, mucus cleansing, and I would imagine it's cleaning that kind of mucoid lining where they can often hide or reside. Is that true?
Yeah, the parasites live off of decaying matter, you know, from meat and gluten and processed grains and other foods that leave behind residues. Fruit does not leave behind residues. Parasites, of course, they can live off anything, but really when you eat an orange, it doesn't leave much room, or it doesn't leave much for that parasite to really feed off of. You know, but now bread and meat leaving behind large chunks of debris in the GI tract is going to allow those parasites to proliferate. They also crawl beneath those pockets of toxins, and they're anaerobic creatures. And when you eat the fruit, you've got a high oxygen food, so they also don't do well in a high oxygen environment. So if you can get your GI tract clean, fruit is never a problem in parasites. And in fact, if you want to go to Nature's Botanical Pharmacy, again, they have some parasite formulas that will handle your business. Get a couple jars of that, and you know it will knock any situation with the parasites out. It may also be they may be able to proliferate in your emotional state, believe it or not. When I read this message, I feel some fear, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I really have been, that's been a common factor, you know, throughout my life, definitely. And I even get afraid, I think, you know, to be honest, when I feel like I might be detoxing, it feels frightening to me because there's been some really bad times where I've been literally catatonic and, you know, with fibromyalgia or whatever on the floor, and those times have been so scary to me that I do feel like I fear it. Like I really want to water fast, but it also terrifies me at the same time, like, you know, what would happen sort of thing.
Right, so you're not ready for a water fast, so I would study up on your skills and read Herbert Shelton's book again, Fasting Can Save Your Life, again. Right. But I wouldn't go into any water fasting yet until you've addressed some of this fear, because fear is going to be basically your underlying issue here in all of this, really. Mm-hmm. Because fear opens up the door for these other weaknesses to take root. A strong, courageous person that faces things head on, there's no room inside the body or the being for those weaknesses to grab hold. Fear, basically fear kills you and love heals you. So that's going to be basically your number one issue, is getting some life skills to directly address these fears head on. In other words, you have to cultivate courage and fearlessness in this life as a spiritual being. So that is your number one issue right there. If you got to get some counseling, get it. Call a friend. Just say, hey, let's talk about my fears. And just address them. Look at them. Get to know them. All the fears, when they're hiding from you and they're unconscious, that's when they have their power. But when you can stare at your fears right in the face and say, now what you going to do? They lose their unconscious ability to affect your life in the way that they're affecting your life, Pam. And so I knew that was, when I read this, I knew that the fibromyalgia and the parasites are a consequence of these underlying fears that I know you need to look at. Also, and then in the practical terms, you're going to need to eat more easily digestible carbohydrate foods to get energy. Do not be afraid of fruit sugars unless you have eaten too much fat. So we all, as human beings, will do really well, and everyone's a little bit different, but basically we should all be on a low-fat diet, only due to because nature is that way. In nature, if we had to bust open seeds, we'd get about 8, maybe 10 almonds, and then we'd get tired of it, and we wouldn't want to crack open any more nuts because our hunger wouldn't be that much. But with all the way that we've got the fat these days, all year round, and already shelled nuts that are probably rancid, we're really doing ourselves a disservice. The carbohydrates from fruit and the minerals and energy and phytonutrients and phytochemicals in green plant foods is where I would focus if I were you and anybody else watching this video. If you focus and make the predominant part of your diet those juicy fruits that don't need sauces or spices or accoutrements of any kind, and then those leafy green herbs, now we doll those up a little bit because those aren't our most natural food, but I like greens plain, but it took me a long time to get there to just be able to eat plain kale, you know, plain mustard greens, plain lettuce. I love just lettuce plain, or just take a few nuts like pecans and throw those into a lettuce leaf and chew that up. So you want to simplify, but at the same time, you're going to want to make sure you're getting enough volume of those easily absorbable carbs. And so if we address the fear and make sure you're getting enough carbohydrates and energy for the thyroid, you can come down. It'd be helpful to find someone to help you to come off, but I think that you might know enough. But it's hard to work with your doctor because that's what your doctor said 20 years ago or whatever. You're going to be on this the rest of your life. He didn't say, you know, oh, you need to change your diet and get your thyroid functioning, because now your thyroid is strung out. And you're going to have to, but with these high energy raw foods, you're going to be able to regenerate cell function. The thyroid formula will also help to strengthen and bring energy to the thyroid, and you can slowly, after you've been on it for so long, come off of this thyroid medication so that you can function, and so that you can, but you can continue to improve, and one day you'll be able to get off those medications. But you're going to have to address the fear. You're going to have to up your energy level with more raw foods. Are you eating mostly cooked now?
No.
You're mostly raw.
Probably mostly raw, except, you know, for a little here and there. Like I said, my craving is like a steamed potato, you know, with garlic on it. And so I'll just, like, if I feel like I'm torturing myself over it, then I have this tiny little potato with garlic on it, you know.
Okay. Are you afraid to eat?
No, I don't feel like I'm afraid to eat.
Do you like to eat large volumes?
I feel food confused, I will say that. And I felt food confused through, you know, kind of this whole journey about what is best for me to eat. And I feel like I'm getting clearer about that now, because this is the first time that I, you know, really, I mean, after Sienna, I felt like I needed so much help, and it was really, really devastating, and I was just really not functioning. So I just kind of did what I needed to do, and you know how people are bringing you food, you know, because I couldn't cook, and so I kind of went down that road.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
You know, and they're trying to be, you know, and everyone here is like on this whole Nourishing Traditions kick. It's really bizarre to me. It's gone that direction. So everybody's about, like I said, they just want to give me bone broth, you know, over and over again. That's all I hear. So I fought really hard, and it's so funny when we talk about fear, because so many people that meet me would think that I am not that way. I feel like I sort of hide that part of myself, because I'm a pretty ballsy kind of person, and I've always thought, I mean, even back in the day when not vaccinating your kid was not cool, you know, you could have CPS called on you. I was like, I just, you know, stood strong, knew it was true. But I definitely definitely have this sort of underlying, I think, hidden fear. People would be shocked to find that about me. But it's interesting that you picked up on that just, from reading my email.
Yeah, well, it's, that's just how it works out. So that's the main issue here, is facing your fears. That's true for everybody. Just face them and contemplate them, and with the light of awareness shown on there, you'll be able to see what's going on. So so really it's just a matter of not having the energy that you want. So
yeah, none really at all. Some days here and there, like I feel like for whatever strange reason, once a month or something, I'll go, oh my gosh, I just want to keep going. I just feel like going for a walk. It's 9 o'clock at night, but I'm going to go for a walk. And, I really feel that energy. But nobody also knows that I deal with this fatigue because I have dealt with it so long that I've learned to cope. And what I worry about is just accepting that this is how it's going to be. And that's, and that's what I don't want. I really want to reach those heights, of vibrant health. And I'm just surprised. It's been about 5 months or something. I was always kind of almost all raw, and then I really kicked it up a notch. But, so you're just thinking more nutrient-dense type greens also in my green juice?
I think the greens, what I'm thinking is that you need more fruit.
Okay.
And that will give you more energy. If you're low on calories, your body is just it's not going to work,
Okay.
That being said, there may be some excess proteins. Your lymphatic system may have some issues with a lot of the prescription drugs. So what I would suggest is to stay on the raw food as much as possible. And if you need something cooked, eat clean, like a baked yam or some steamed vegetables, but nothing that's going to really, you don't want to clog yourself up. So like steamed broccoli or steamed asparagus or is the least clogging. The next are more like the starches. Those are a little bit harder on the body to process. So stay as close to you can, even though I know it's winter. But prepare yourself for next spring and summer. But think this way. Think in the way of raw foods as clean as possible. Fruit for energy. And you need to eat a lot of fruit. More than you think. And then you might see a boost in your energy. And then continue to study the fasting. Because eventually you're going to want to remove what may be with the fibromyalgia some type of degenerated tissues, okay, which are just scar tissues that keep the body which keep the blood and the oxygen and the sugars from really penetrating the cells easily. A lot of people have chronically inflamed and damaged tissues, and those tissues are hardened, and then it's hard for the energy to flow through them. So you may want to do some water fasting, get over your fear of that in the future. For now, master the raw food, okay? Also, when you juice, I know that you're on a budget, but when you juice, if you could shoot for a 32-ounce serving of juice in one shot, that's the minimum that is a serving. I drink like 32, sometimes up to 64 ounces of juice for a meal, but then that lasts me and energizes me for about 3 or 4 hours, you see?
Okay.
I've got plenty of energy. If I just drink like 16 or 20 ounces of juice, that is not enough, and I'd be, in a half hour, I'm hungry again. Okay, so my intuition is saying that you've got some deficiency in calories, so get that from the fruit. And then get your mind wrapped around the fasting, because if you really want this vital and radiant health, you can fast even 1 day a week. Allowing the organs of digestion and elimination to rest for 24 to 36 hours a week is a huge boost. Anyone can do that easily. I do 2 days a week, believe it or not. And it really makes a big difference. The next thing is juicing. Juice your way to energy. 32 ounces at least, even a couple of times a day. Don't be afraid to eat raw foods. You know, animals in nature, they really want to eat. And we have a lot of weird reasons why we're too afraid of sugar or something like that. So eat a lot of fruit and eat a lot of greens, and it's the best prescription to really get to the radiant state is eat a lot of fruit whole and drink a lot of vegetables. Those are two concepts that can really help boost people up. The next thing I want you to think of is doing some yoga to really get the nerve energy moving through. When your spine is healthy, you can address fear a lot better. It helps to regenerate the brain and keeps the nervous system strong. So yoga is a huge boost for people. You know, 20 minutes a day. There's a lot of programs out there. There's free videos on YouTube that you can watch. 15 to 20 minutes is all you need to keep your spine healthy. Okay? And then some kind of counseling to address these fears. And then you can try off of these thyroid medications and get your own natural thyroid functioning. And
I definitely feel that. And I think that there's something happening with this. Is the first time in a long time that I needed less thyroid, that I was actually kind of hypothyroid because of the medication. So we reduced that. So I feel like hopefully that's a journey, you know, that sort of will continue, you know, that I need less the next time I go. But I think you're hitting on, I don't think I'm having enough. And I wanted to just ask you, what does a meal of fruit look like for you? I mean, what are we talking?
For me, I'm a moderately active dude. I spend a lot of time just behind the computer helping people, but I do exercise every day. And so I am a moderate. I'm not like an 80-10-10 person who's just running all over hell. You know, I just got other stuff going on. But I do some physical fitness every day. So I eat a moderate diet. So what I'll do is I'll probably sit down and, let's see, what did I do yesterday? I had 2 jars of juice with apple, celery, 2 jars of lemon ginger blast to start off with. And so that would be 2 jars of juice, and then after that I had about probably 2 or 3 pounds of grapes, and then for dinner I had a head of cabbage shredded with carrots and avocado and apple cider vinegar mixed in, and then I had so that was a giant bowl of cabbage salad, and then I had a couple of coconut waters and about 6 bananas.
Okay.
And
I don't.
So that's for me. You'll need a little less, but people just, they go raw and they just do not eat enough. You know. And then the fear and the stress. You know. So these things are just little things. But I mean, Pam, I could sit here for another hour with you. I do have to go, and we could go over some more stuff. But this is enough to get you started. Keep learning. Become committed to doing whatever it takes, and then do a gentle discipline and practice becoming a master, and practice becoming an energy master, an energy management specialist. You know, and learn.
I love that. Yeah,
that's what it is. Anybody can do this. It does take time. We're a crazy backwards society. We've all got so many psychological issues, fears, worries, stresses, anxieties. And none of those are going to be appropriate in the path of true health. So we need to have courage, love, faith in God, or just the flow of the universe, that it has abundance and that it will support us. If we set out to do something good, you will always have the support and the backing of the universe. And it will help you, and it will send you the right information, the right book, the right person, the right clue, the right key. And pray to your angels to help you, to guide you. And you may be alone, because a lot of people, they're not interested in health until it's gone away. So don't be one of those kinds of people. If you've got moderately decent health, get on the practice of making it better so that you can live an awesome life, because everyone wants to see their potential arise, and you're going to need the energy of life to do that. So become a spiritual person and use raw foods and healing techniques and courage and love to create the life of your dreams.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were definitely an answer to me from, I thought about it last night after I sent that email and thought about you and prayed on it and, asked the universe for help, and here you are. So I really, really feel like you've been a gift to me today, and I so appreciate your time. And,
you bet, ma'am.
And I've really gotten through because when I'm feeling kind of down, I go to YouTube and, find you and find something that inspires me. And so you really are a gift. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Pam. It's my pleasure.
Okay.
Everybody says that. I prayed and then you called. So it's we're definitely tapped in here. So do good, Pam, and let me know. Write to me in a month or two and let me know how things are going.
That sounds great.
Okay? Okay.
Take care.
Take care, Pam.
Peace.
So thanks for watching this video. My name is Dan McDonald. I'm the Life Regenerator. There's tons of free videos on YouTube. Subscribe if you made it this far. I sure appreciate that. Make sure you're getting enough fruit calories and just really live a fearless life. Look at your fears. Go into them. Go into them. Your fears will not kill you if you know what they are. But they will kill you if you do not know what they are, because they're slowly burning a hole in your whole being. Okay? Fear kills and love heals. So you've got to love even the challenges that come with being human, and then that creates compassion for yourself and others. There's links down below for the DVDs that I have on my website, regenerate-your-life.org. I do special videos and stuff for the Insiders Club, so sign up for that. That's also down below. And go to my Facebook page and go give me a thumbs up over there. I think I hit all the bases on that one. Thank you very much. I hope you learned something from this video. I thought it was appropriate for everybody. So anyways, peace be with you. It's my honor and privilege to help in any way that I can. So thank you. Bye-bye.